we spoke 2 weeks ago, and you were thinking then Nancy Pelosi's not a shoo-in necessarily. It looks like she probably is now. The Wall Street Journal writes, Democratic opposition melts away as the left gets behind her. Here's the quote. Progressive require control of Congress to fulfill their main policy goal of expanding government so they understand the importance of a united front. Don't look for the kind of Freedom Caucus revolts that bedeviled GOP speakers John Boehner and Paul Ryan, end quote. So did she work the art of the deal for herself, Karl?
Well, look, it isn't over yet. I wrote a column last week for the Wall Street Journal listing the sort of sources. This was just 2 days after the letter came out from 16 Democrats, and then I illuminated the number of others that had already said, I'm not supporting her. And it was more than enough to knock her down to about 203 out of 200. She needs 218 to win and knock it down to about 203, 204, 205, depending on how people fell out. But look, she's twisting arms and breaking legs, and there's no doubt she's formidable and she's likely to win. But at what price? Think about it. Brian Higgins of Buffalo signs a letter saying under no circumstances will I support her, and then 2 days later says, well, I'm supporting her now. How's he going to explain that? Now, he's got a deep blue district. But there are a lot of people on the list of names of people who said, I'll never support her, like 2 women in Michigan who represent previously Republican districts, or a woman in Kansas, previously Republican district, former mayor of Salt Lake who beat Maya Love by 700 votes in a Utah district. How are those people going to go home and say, well, yeah, I told you I wouldn't do it, but I did it after my arm was twisted or my leg was broken?
So they're folding. I mean, that's what you're saying, right?
Well, they could. We'll see. Jim Cooper of Tennessee, who's voted against her before, he's not folding. But let's see how many do and how they explain, those that do fold, how they explain it to the people back home. Because remember, a lot of them were very clear about this. Under no circumstances will I support her. You know, Jason Crow of Colorado, Brian Golden of Maine. These people were not unclear about it. And granted, she's a tough character. I know. I saw her up close and personal for 7 years, and she is tough. And she's backed by a strong cadre of very liberal members of the House. And in the Democratic caucus, it's the Democratic caucus that makes things like committee assignments and designates the chairs and designates subcommittee chairs and so forth. So she got some influence.
I think her phrase was a transitional position. We'll see how long that transition lasts.
I don't think that was another point that the Wall Street Journal made in its editorial today, which I think is accurate. She doesn't want to be a transitional figure. If the Democrats retake the White House in 2020, she wants to be Speaker of the House like she was when Barack Obama came into office in 2009.
Thank you, buddy. I like the whiteboard. Hope you had a great turkey. Thanks, Karl Rove in Austin.
Bet.